talks about the latest military technology that his administration is acquiring, how he's tackling moles and saboteurs within the army, and why you shouldn't trust everything you hear from international presses like BBC and VOA, which were just recently suspended in Burkina Faso. We will now talk about security, the main concern of the Burkinabes, and the #1 priority of your government under your leadership. The army has acquired, and given priority the acquisition of advanced equipment and war materials. Can we say that our fighting forces are now equipped to annihilate the enemy? Yes, on the equipment, we will continue to equip ourselves. As I told you, we are not even 15% of what we want. In this month of May, you will see a lot of things that will be there, and it will continue, because knowing where we come from very far away, and therefore we must prepare so that future generations do not experience these situations. I had to say it on February 17th, if I'm not mistaken. People have perhaps now understood how imperialism weakened our armies, to now be able to send terrorism and destroy our states and even exploit them. I'll give you an example. I was talking on 2020 about what it was like. If you are looking for soldiers who were in operation in 2019 or nearby that period, they'll tell you. Imagine during this time, we deployed 300 to 350 soldiers with only 100 Kalashnikovs, maybe 10 or 20 vests. They are there, many are alive, they'll tell you. So they lacked equipment, and when they were attacked, the 200 or so that they were forced to run. And this means that the military itself nicknamed the terrorists the Mono. Then the instructors, it's like at school, the instructors came at 5 o'clock to wake you up to do sports and run. So when they came to attack at 5 o'clock, it was a race. And when you lose confidence like that, to regain confidence, it's not easy. So the equipment had caused the army to lose its face a little. And you see that the terrorists like to film the soldiers running, and they go to galvanize their fighters by recruiting them and really putting them morally at the top to fight. Today, we want to equip the army, so that soldiers regain self-confidence. When he comes out, he must have confidence, already with the minimum we have, but you see the feat they are doing. They are not afraid to go towards the enemy, that means the soldiers are not afraid. So, we will continue to make efforts to better equip ourselves and cope. Mr. President, in addition to equipment and materials, there is also a lot of effort being made to recruit men to fight on the ground. Of course, that goes hand in hand, and you have noticed that we were very wrong. What we see is not what we imagined. There are many of them, and today, it must be recognized that there are many who come from abroad to fight in Burkina, in the ranks of the terrorists. Therefore, the mercenaries who come here, we must recruit accordingly, to mesh our territory too. You are in the process of reorganizing the army. Which phase are you at with this reorganization? The first phase was the establishment of these organic and combat units there. These are the rapid intervention battalions, to respond and contain the threat, because when we did the assessment, this type of force was needed to contain the threat. There, we can say that thanks to God, we have accomplished a feat beyond what we imagined. So, we were able to train these rapid intervention fighters ourselves, equip them entirely, thanks to the people, so this is the first phase. The other phases are currently following, because the field and reorganization phases must be completed. So the forces will soon be relocated, to respond to the current situation. So the reorganization will continue, other types of units will be created, and within the framework of the AES-2, there are forces which will be put in place to respond to these needs. Precisely, Mr. President, you were hesitant in Banfora, you told the fighting forces to prepare for high-intensity war, so should we expect other reforms within the fighting forces? Yes, we can say that the reforms are in the direction of reorganization, because, as I said there, terrorism will be defeated. These criminals who ride around on motorcycles will be defeated. But we must prepare for other types of war and any threat everywhere. Whether it's around you or the threat that can come from afar. So, in this context, it is a conventional war, which can last, so we must prepare for a high-intensity war. We must be able to fight in time and hold on to the ground for a very long time. It's another mode of combat. So you have to prepare for that, and the forces, the different bodies will have a training program and start these training sessions. Tangible results are achieved daily on the ground, but the phenomenon of terrorism seems to have a hard time in certain localities. How can we explain this state of affairs? Yes, it's terrorism, as you say. After the fight, people realize that there are many foreigners in the ranks. So, Burkina, as I told the children, is the heart. So we try to crush the heart to scare others. So, we are the ones who must welcome as much as possible. That's why we prepare accordingly. So, it's not that it's a new phenomenon. We expect that, and we expect worse than that. But for the moment, I think that we cannot be everywhere, at the same time. As you have noticed, we do not communicate much on certain things, but there are zones where we have put a lot of efforts, which are almost 100% won. There are also areas where we are still making efforts, little by little. We are going to reconquer all the portions of land, because by watching them, we have to conquer and know how to consolidate. Exactly, Mr. President. You spoke earlier about acquiring equipment. Many Burkinabes do not understand, or say to themselves that we have equipped ourselves, we have latest generation drones, but we do not understand why terrorism persists. Just this April 23rd, there were attacks. How can we explain this state of affairs? So, we really acquired a lot of resources, that's one thing. The good air vectors, we have been able to successfully train most of the pilots already. Because we anticipated their training before acquiring the whole means that we acquired, and we must train afterwards, so there is a dead time. But currently, with the air vectors, we already have this chance of having pilots, and they are active. But why are there attacks often? It must be recognized that there are certain positions where the leaders of elements are still not serious, they're not focused, and I said that last week. Like the effect of knowing that there is something in the air, it makes some people not to concentrate. In any case, we can develop them long and loose. These are moments of some left fragility, and the enemy has observed and he strikes a blow that can be hard. That's it. Otherwise, while the 23rd was happening, an important operation had just finished in the area where the battalions did good work. But it was during this phase that others gave in. Because, just because there are drones in the air, doesn't mean you have to sleep. What we want is to be able to be alerted. Because currently, there are drones in the sky all the time. We just want the positions to be able to be said, and we see them coming. And many managed to do it. You followed Gibo. It was the observers who saw the enemy coming, and alerted the drone, which came to participate in the fight. You followed Triore, Gawa, and many positions managed to do it. But in certain positions where unfortunately, you just hear that they are being attacked, we are under fire. How could you have been surprised? There is a problem. It's not because there are drones that have even more spotters that we don't take all these precautions. So, there too, these are things that need to be corrected, and we are on that. These are things that taint the fight, but which must be corrected. People must not let the guard down, believing that it is over. You have to stay focused. So, Mr. President, do these terrorists benefit from internal complicity? Of course, very much. And the internal complicity, immediately the cases that I spoke to you about, those who were neutralized, who came from abroad, who were leaving for Mansilla, imagine that they passed through the airport with the complicity of someone, because they provided all the information. And the investigation started just yesterday. We are going to find these individuals. They went through the complicity of people. There are also villages which are complicit, but which are beginning to understand a little. In the army, there is complicity, there are leaks of information, many things, and without complicity, it is difficult for the enemy to be informed. So even in our cities, here, there are some who are terrorists, who teach them about all the movements, and everything that happens there. There are complicities, so complicity also concerns desires for destabilization of the transition. Yes, but that's logical, and that's permanent. As they say, we have decided to take our responsibilities to start a fight. It goes without saying, that some who have lost their privileges and their advantages stand against us. Now, it's up to us to be vigilant, that's what we're doing. And sir, this is a fairly common truth of destabilization, so we are on that. It will be permanent, we are sure. So we also see a certain form, I was going to say, of a campaign of demonization of defense and security forces, through the international press, for example. Ah yes, that's it, that's logical. These international presses are fighting for their countries. It's normal. That's why we shut down here, everything they divulge as information is for the interests of their country. But what enrages us is often the local presses, which relay this. That's what's dangerous. Does that mean that they do not have the intelligence to understand that everything they publish is for the interest of their country, and that here too, we are set up to do it? It's not good. The FDS are gaining strength. They have a lot of victories. Today, we don't sit down until someone comes to attack us. We are on the offensive, and we have a lot of things going on. They don't like the weapons we are acquiring, and all this equipment, because we will succeed in defeating terrorism. Yet, they created this so that our states cannot be stable and continue to exploit us. It's our resources, that's the problem, but if you have an army, they can't afford certain things. So it's normal that their press demonizes us, that they invent lies, and they say whatever they want with internal complicity. Unfortunately, there are individuals here, for 2,000, 3,000 euros, they are ready to write anything, and send it there. That's it, and then they sell their homeland. And these are the people we also fight, because they are enemies of the nation. And it's dangerous. Our presses should also not play certain games when they publish things there. We are here, what value does it add? What is your part in this struggle? And they are fighting for the interests of their country. Why are you two going to follow them? Even if they finance you, or I don't know what it is, it does not make sense.